Hey everyone, we are live on the Minds, we'll call it the Grind podcast today with Frank Cavanagh. He's only got 2 interviews today. Frank, pretty excited about that, huh?
Yeah, it's an easy day for me today.
It's a grind. Frank, we met at the Vulcan when Minds was hosting the Minds Fest at the Vulcan. Awesome event, great video from that. And then you and I met, and you had mentioned that you were hosting an event there, which was interesting because you said it was an awards event, and I've always kind of like debated this with people. I've had like debates because when you're doing live events, it's like trying to figure out like what would people want to go and see, and the awards thing is kind of really there's only what is there like the top like 5 maybe like Oscars, Grammys,
Emmys, Grammys, Oscars, Tonys.
yeah.
So like 4 big ones.
Yeah.
People's Choice.
Yeah, but you guys are working with people that don't fit because not everybody fits into the into the mainstream. But so you were in Filter, right? So you were in Filter at the height of Filter, right? The band.
Yeah, I was in Filter from 1995 to 2003, 2004.
Yeah, that was the height.
It was kind of weird at the end, but yeah, it was back around the turn of the century. I saw the inside of the belly of the beast for sure.
Yeah,
I wanted no part of it.
Yeah, we were talking about it like before. It's like constant touring. It just that was just your life back then.
Yeah, it's touring's a young man's game. Really doing that.
Yeah,
it's like professional sports. You got to be on your game. But I learned the inside of it, and I was really like when I met you down in Austin, I was thinking about and actually down there to scout out the Vulcan for the American Liberty Awards. And the American Liberty Awards, I was basically like we all saw that week, the 2 weakest men in America with the weakest slap ever in award show or any show history. And I was like, this is just like, I was flabbergasted that people were still buying it. It was just like, can't someone make an award show that's better? Can't they make an award show that we like? And they won't, because they are basically we're living in the United States was formed on a selfless system where people donated their time to politics. Everyone was in politics. Now we have a selfish system where people are in politics to enrich themselves. People are basically in everything to enrich themselves. So I was like, we need to get back to that other system. We need to start making our own parallel systems.
Yeah.
Someone needs to make an award show. And I was with, I'm friends with Rob Dew, Maddie Baker, the dreadlocked Alex Jones, and our friend Scott Armstrong. Last summer, we were messing around and we were just hanging out at Rob Dew's house around his pool. We're actually talking about the Juggalos, the gathering of the Juggalos.
Okay. Yeah, I remember the Juggalos. Yeah.
It's back when I was in Filter. A really good friend of mine's Evan Kelly, who owns Nelson's Ledges Quarry Park, and he called me up and he's like, "Hey, all they did at the time was like Grateful Dead cover bands. It's this 400-acre park in the middle of the country, in between Cleveland and Pittsburgh, and he's like, the Juggalos want to do some gathering here." And I'm like, the Juggalos? I'm like, Insane Clown Posse? He's like, yeah, I've never heard of these guys. I was like, he's like, I don't know if I want to do it. I was like, Evan, I will never talk to you again if you don't have these dudes do their gathering of the Juggalos at the park. So
yeah,
that was the first ever gathering of the Juggalos. And I was like, yeah, man, it's so funny because I could have been like, don't have those dudes, but I was like, have them. It's just funny how like little things start with like little sparks of ideas. And then I was like, hey guys, I got an idea I want to make an award show called the American Freedom Awards. We'll call it the Freedies. And Matt Baker was like, that's gay, dude. He's like, call it the American Liberty Awards. We'll call it the Libbys. And I was like, all right, dude. And Matt is like super irreverent, like a bull in a china shop.
Yeah,
like, dude, come on. So like basically that was where we're like, let's do it. And then that was last summer. And I was like, in November, I was like, okay, I'm actually going to make this thing an entity. And like, I made a company and I was like, we're going to do this thing. And so,
yeah, that's awesome. It takes so long. It takes so long to plan everything. I think that's what some people don't realize, just how long this stuff takes. And the Vulcan's a really cool place. That's one of the things I kind of noticed in Austin. I'm like, you know, Tim Poole did a show the Friday night with Alex. It was like Alex Blair, Michael Malice, a bunch of people, and they sold out the show in one day. And then we did our show the night after, and we had, you know, 315 there, something like that. And a lot of people really seem to enjoy it. But I think Alex is kind of like this untapped thing in Austin right now.
It's really funny because the Austin scene, they hate InfoWars and Alex Jones.
Really?
And, yeah, we tried to hire a street team to pass out flyers, and they wouldn't do it because InfoWars and Alex Jones is too incendiary. And then we were going to run an ad in the Observer, and they ran it 1 week, and then that was it. They took it away. So that mirrors how it is in every American city, though. In the suburbs, it's all conservatives. In the city, it's all liberals, because the liberals have ethnically cleansed the cities of conservatives. What has happened in the last 5 years is they politically cleansed. I'm sorry, not ethnically cleansed.
Yeah.
They politically cleansed anyone. If you are a conservative and you have a Trump sticker on your car, you will get your car vandalized. I mean, that's just the facts of the matter. So
yeah,
they actually think they're doing good. They think they're actually fighting for the right people.
Well, what's interesting about Austin, though, is, I mean, you have Elon Musk there, you have Joe Rogan there, you have this like burgeoning industry of comedy there. So yeah, I agree with you. You know, after being there, it definitely skews more left, but I still think, like, I don't know, there's like a huge something like happening there, which is like really cool to see. And Alex Jones should be a part of that.
It's the new Hollywood, whether people want to in Hollywood want to admit it or not. It is the new Hollywood. You look at you look at Joe Rogan's there. They're making movies there like crazy. You look, Dave Draymond moved there from Disturbed. Blue October's there. A couple of my buddies that were in Filter with me are working out of Austin now. Oh, cool. So that's like that's the new Hollywood, and it's kind of a stick in the eye to the establishment to have it there, not to the establishment, but to the, you know, the liberal combine, the cabal, to actually have it in a super liberal city. And Alex Jones is there. And the fact of the matter is the people that are nominated for the American Liberty Awards, it's basically they've all been canceled. And so I expected to get hate. I expected to get pushback. I expected that people wouldn't help us. But I also wanted to use it as an example that we don't need their help anymore. I don't want the Observer's help. I don't want to pay $1,000 a week to have my advertisement run in a globalist magazine. I don't care. And if you look at it, honestly, from a business perspective, you're not getting $1,000 in ticket sales a week. You're not getting what you invest in it. You're getting so that everyone sees your ad in the newspaper. And really, if you look at, because I can break it down by city, who's buying tickets, and they're not buying it from Austin. So the whole old way of doing things has to be shucked. And what's beautiful about the American Liberty Awards is we're really trying to do that, like walk the walk and do it. And we're all putting our own time into it, our own money, and people have come out of the woodwork to support it, which is I'm so overwhelmed with the positive response. I never thought it would be this much. It's so cool. I'm very grateful. And it just shows that America is at the point where you can build it and they will come, basically, at this point. There needs to be a new music television. We need to make banks. We need to make our own banks. There's no reason we can't do that. We need to make our own publishing houses, our own. And the American Liberty Awards actually shows, here's all the best broadcast media. Here's all the best print media. Here's all the best doctors that are fighting for truth. Here's all the best lawyers. And really what it does is it puts a spotlight on the fact that we already have started our own system. We already have started alternative systems. We're just not owning the fact that we've done it. So
yeah, well, I think we've built alternative systems, but I also think that's capitalized by big tech. Like, if you look at the way promo around Filter was, or around, the Smashing Pumpkins or whoever, even Creed back in the day, like the advertising model was always, it was like on television, or it was, like on the radio constantly, like being pushed. And then when social media came out, I think that really changed that industry. Now, obviously, I think the music industry is still profitable on like Spotify or something like that. Or I think iTunes was probably really good for them. I got their argument with Napster, because Napster, they were literally, stealing the music, which that's terrible. Yeah, I think it's, you're right. I think the alternative, like, people can become music celebrities, or, like whatever it is, like through social media today, and they don't necessarily need this,
well, if
giant
you look
production budget anymore.
When I was signed to Warner Reprise, there was like 600 people that worked in the Los Angeles. They had like a campus. It was like a college, and now there's like maybe 200. And if you look at the biggest artists today, Post Malone, when he first came out, his first song, I think, was like 7 or 12 million downloads on Bandcamp.
Okay.
On Bandcamp. Yep. So you look at Forgiato Blow and Nick Natoli that just did the Target song, it's released straight to iTunes. There is no labels anymore. So the real gatekeepers of culture were the big record labels, where when Filter was playing, there was 10 other bands that were as good as Filter that never got shown the light of day, because for whatever reason, the execs at the record labels didn't want to push them. They suppressed them, whatever. There was grudges. They didn't do what they wanted them to do. And what you had was hundreds of people, thousands of people in Los Angeles that were very, very wealthy, who never even played an instrument, didn't know how to make music, but they were wealthy off of music. And it was, in my opinion, a slave system where you basically got ripped off. Now it's put it back into the actual artist's hands where they can make money. And it's really about if your music's good now, not so much we've got this machine to just push it down people's throats, like here's another Bruce Springsteen song. Like,
I think there's some of that, but I also think there is value in people that know how to navigate this new space. Like, I actually, Phil, I don't know if you heard Filter's new song. Was it?
Very good.
It's really good. It was really, really good. It definitely, I think, really captured like the 90s alternative. And the animation was really cool in the video. But, it has 75,000 views on YouTube, and I think, like I said, back in the day, that would have been the job of like, producer, whatever, they're going out and they're getting this stuff out there. And like you said, working with the record labels and stuff. Yeah.
Here's
hard to monetize on social media as well.
Filter is so globalist, unbelievably globalist. Their couple tours ago, they had a show canceled in El Paso because their whole theme was anti-Trump. They had T-shirts with Trump with bullet holes in his head and targets on them.
Oh no.
Yeah, so they're very, 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 very establishment globalists. And Rich went and put out a great song. That's the song that belongs on the first 3 records. I love that song. But because he's politically on Team Evil, people don't want it. And they've made music and politics and movies and TV shows and everything about politics when it shouldn't be. So I'll just use sports for an example. They took away the spectator sport of football. So what do people do now? They don't watch football, but they know everything about politics. And they've turned politics into the new spectator sport. So you have someone like Filter, who's now is putting out awesome music, but no one wants to hear it because the politics behind it are not right. And then you look at, again, like Nick Natoli, who is doing it by himself, where he's getting millions of downloads because the message is there. We're in a spiritual world war, and no one even knows it. People don't even over half the population doesn't even believe that there's a God, and they don't understand that when you're in fear, you're creating in your head a scenario either of a resentment of the past or in the future. Very seldom it's right now a tree's falling on me fear. Mostly it's like I'm fearful about what's going to happen in the future. So as a creative creature, you're using your power of creativity to create a negative scenario. And to the Satanists, you're praying to Satan, even if you don't know it, because that fear and the chaos is what they want. And so the American Liberty Awards is giving us all an opportunity where we don't have to fear anything. We're amongst friends. We're celebrating what we're doing. We're taking account for the gains we've had and making new relationships with like-minded people. And everyone wants to fight. I think it's feeding the beast, when we should really just be concentrating on living the best lives that we can, because that's the best revenge, is a life well lived. And the rest of the population that doesn't care, that's just getting along to go along, they're watching Team Good versus Team Evil.
Well, don't you think though, like in the case of the music industry, so you had musicians and bands that were forced to make a choice, like regardless of anything else. COVID happened, and it kind of forced people on one side or the other. And you had a lot of bands, a lot of musicians, a lot of labels that caved to the COVID mandates just to continue to tour, which I get. Like, as a performer, like, that's a huge source of your revenue. You have to make sure your shows keep going and stuff. But instead of like pushing back, and you would have thought like the Offspring and like bands like that would actually like be like, no, we're not gonna do that. Like it seemed like a lot of the comedians like Dave Chappelle and Joe Rogan and like those guys did, but a lot of the musicians really didn't push back against any of that. I think, and they fired people.
Hit and everything was shut down. There's an association called the Small Venue Owners Association of America, and they lobbied Congress to give them bailout money for COVID. So all these small 300 to 500 head of little clubs, and that's where music artists come up. That's where you cut your teeth playing in front of live people, is these little clubs. They all got bailed out by the government. Then 2 years later, they all banded together and said, you cannot come in our club, you cannot play in our club, you cannot work in our club unless you've been vaccinated. And that is what has killed the non-vax, not the conservative, the Team Good music, where we can't get in front of people anymore. That's the next big thing I'm going after, is these small club venue owners, because I have a personal bone to pick with this, because I know I have two friends that died. One was a musician, one was a bartender. Within 2 weeks of taking that shot, they were dead, totally healthy people. So it's like, that the American Liberty Awards is just the start, and it's notice to the New World Order that we're no longer retreating. We're not going back. We don't care what you do to us. You've already done everything you can to do this. What are you going to do? Put me in jail? Kill me? Oh, well, do it. There's going to be another person behind me that's going to take up my place because you do it to me. And I'm here doing it because you did it to someone else in front of me. So, now the buck stops basically with each one of us.
How did you guys decide who was on the list? I saw a lot of cool people on the list, like Peter McCullough and Robert Malone and
Jim Hoff.
Like, how was that process? Because I can assume that was probably a nightmare.
Yeah, it was involved. I love Jim Hoff. He's awesome. what I did when I made this, I had I had Maddie and Michael Graves from the Misfits when I formed the company. They were like, it was us three. And then I was like, hey guys, I want to, the American Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences has the Academy, which has the Academy Award. So I wanted to make a mirror to that. That's good. I wanted to make a core group of people that were all patriots that were involved in creating content and fighting the fight, basically. Make it so that we would pick the nominees. So this first year, I couldn't do it because I didn't have that. The way that you get into the library is you get nominated. So this first year, there's 177 nominees. Next year, they're all going to get a form halfway through the year. Like, who do you think should be on it? Then they're going to get another form or an email, like, who's your vote? And we're going to do it simple. This year, I got a core group of 13 people around me that are podcasters, artists. We have one guy who sells gold. Just all different aspects that I could get that I thought were patriots. And I was like, I need your advice. I need basically an advisory board. So they're the core library of the American Liberty Awards. And we just had brain sessions.
Yeah, man.
Brainstorming where we would set them out. And then I just sat down one day and was like, I'm going to aggregate all of this. And we were only going to have like 7 or 8 people in each category, but it's just impossible because there's never been an American Liberty Awards before. So it's like, we include everybody. And now the American public who's waking up, they can use it as an informational source. They can go to the American Liberty Awards. There's over 170 people that there's a hyperlink on their name that will take you to their content. And if you like Alex Jones, you can watch Alex Jones. You don't like Alex Jones, you can watch Steve Bannon. You don't like Steve Bannon, you can watch someone else. There's 20 podcasters there. There's 15 newspapers. There's 12 lawyers. There's, 12 doctors that you can go to, or medical organizations. So people can come and learn about what's actually going on, because we have to be there. Leaders are people that are alone, that are out in front doing it. You're not a leader if you do it with a bunch of other people. It's not the definition of what it is. And so the leaders need to just understand that we need to go out and do what we have to do and be alone. And if it's true, you'll find out really fast. And if it's not, no one will follow you. It's that simple. Stop waiting to go do things when it's perfect. Stop waiting for other people to help you do it. You just gotta.
Yeah, and like in this case though, I always say this too, because I hear a lot of people that want to do live events and stuff, which I think, they're really good. They're a good idea. They just require a ton of energy and a lot of money and a lot of patience. And you're right. It's like, we do need more people doing that stuff. But I also get too, why some people just burn out. The funny thing, even with podcasting is a great example. The burnout factors is so funny. If you look at podcasters, they really don't start picking up steam until episode 700 or whatever it is, and it takes a long time, so I definitely
I kind of even think podcasting is it's played out, basically. It's like,
do you think it is? Do you think it's dead?
You've got basically Alex Jones took it over, and then everyone copied him in their own. They put their own flair on it. Like Joe Rogan now has a talk show, where he's got Tim Pool has a talk show, and both of those dudes took the idea and improved on it and made it better. In my book, they're both entertaining as hell. But how many Joe Rogans and Tim Pools and Alex Joneses can there be? You know? And so it's like, I think now in the informational war, that's really good, especially for people like I own a market garden farm where I'm out working all the time. It's good that you have for hours you can listen to that. But there's also people that don't have hours to do that. Right. And so the 10-minute, the 5-minute info bomb, which is another category that we have in the American Liberty Awards, where it's just a compact capsule of knowledge. It's a grenade of truth that goes out there. And that is that in the memers is really what I think what has saved humanity over the last couple of years, because it's soundbite information, you know, it's talking point information. So that's where I think the future is in this small 10-minute podcast, not the 3-hour, you know.
Interesting, because like I mean, you know, RFK's platform right now is running on podcasts, and you know, I think a lot of people are kind of making all this stuff as they go anyways, but he is starting to see success, you know, going on YouTube, even though YouTube censors a lot of the stuff. And then I think Rumble benefits, and like the alt tech platforms benefit when YouTube does censor some of that stuff, because you know, then they don't get the views on it. But so it's kind of interesting, and it kind of seems like there is an appetite for long form stuff. I don't know. I can go back and forth on it. I also think some people get sick of sound bites, because a lot of times on CNN, that's what you hear are sound bites. It's like, hey, Frank, how do you feel about X? And then you have your thing that you practiced all day, and you say that thing, and then it's
but maybe I misdescribed it. Not sound bites, but like, you know, you look at Greg Reese, what Greg Reese is doing, where it's 5 minutes, you know, it's just a 5-minute report.
Okay.
Where you can someone can basically on your break, if you're working on your break, you can pull it up on your phone and watch that in a break, in a 15-minute break. That is the future, I believe, of information and news delivery, where people aren't going to really have 3 hours to, if you want to, it's there. But I don't really see that like it expanding any more than it has. I think it's reached like the point where there's so many podcasters now that are really good, that it's like, if you really want to stand out, you have to do something different.
No, that's a good point. And it's always like trying to figure out that unique factor. But I also think there is something to be said about longevity. You know, like Joe Rogan has the biggest one, but he also probably has one of the oldest ones. Like, what is he on? You know, 1,200, 1,300 for, what is it? Like,
I didn't even know that.
Yeah, there's something to be said.
What do you think Adam Curry's on? What's Alex Jones?
Adam Curry's probably like on 5,000. Adam Curry was doing audio, and I think that's the other innovation that's really changed podcasts, is the video.
Yeah.
And then the IRL video, which is even more, I don't think most people, I would argue, don't want to necessarily listen to a 3-hour audio podcast. I mean, there's some, you know, like whatever, but I think video was, you know, huge for Joe, but then also, you know, like 1,400 episodes, and it takes a very, very long time. Now, there's some people that can do it quickly, but that's what, to your point, it's like, then you have to have like a really good concept. I don't know. Did you ever see those podcasts like during COVID? Like, you had like the celebrities, I'll say like the Hollywood celebrities, started doing these podcasts where they were investing like millions into them, but it was all audio, but they were like trying to like accentuate the sound effects and stuff. So it was almost like listening to like a movie almost. I don't know if you saw those.
No.
They never really caught on. I think like that's early on in COVID, they were popular, but Tiger King outshined that for sure.
The Tiger King. I never watched an episode.
You didn't during COVID?
I don't.
Oh, wow.
I purposely stay well away from anytime it's like any kind of like social fad like that. I'm almost like, I just don't want to know about it, because how they have us controlled, and they've had us controlled for so many years, is the schedule. People get up and go to work. They come home. There's the nightly news, the local and national news, which is programming you what to believe. Then it goes on to the shows that are programming you, and then the late night show. And I discovered myself with The Walking Dead like 10 years ago, where it was every Thursday night, where my wife and I were basically looking forward to the next Walking Dead episode, and then talking about the last one, and then looking forward to the next one. And then I watched the next season I missed, and I watched it all in a weekend. Right. And I was that is so how they have us on the hook.
Yeah.
that we're talking about The Walking Dead. Well, the whole time, all this political corruption's happening, all this stuff, we're losing our country. You know, they're doubling the money supply, and things cost 3 times as much. But The Walking Dead is keeping my mind off of it. So when it came time for it was a Tiger King. Was that the name of the guy?
Yeah, Tiger King. Yeah.
I was just like, nope, I'm not into that. I'm not doing that. I'm breaking the conditioning by it's. I believe that like what we're seeing right now with the government, the corrupt government, what it's doing to the American people, it's a cycle of domestic violence in a way, and allowing myself to be programmed and then breaking that conditioning and programming. I was like, I'm going to stop this cycle. And part of that violence is keeping people distracted, that cycle where, yeah, everything's cool. You know, everything's cool until something bad happens again. And if we want this to stop, we have to stop that cycle where, oh yeah, the government does this crazy thing that's horrible to us, but it's going to be better next time. It's okay. We can vote some other. Trump's going to save us. Like, none of that is true. None of that's going to happen. The only people that are going to save this country is me and you, and the people that are listening to this at a local level. And when you're talking about a local level, I'm saying right here inside your heart is where it needs to change. You need to be the change you see in the world, as Gandhi said. We need to be, if I'm selfless, then I'm good. Other people can be selfish, but if they're constantly seeing me be selfless, then they're going to be like, well, all right, let's do it. And then they do it and they do it. And once we get the societal conscious shift back to helping others is actually helping myself instead of screwing others over is getting more for me, that's how all this is going to get fixed. It's a spiritual battle. I firmly believe that. Even if, you know, like I said before, people don't like, you know, Christians do this, they condemn certain people, or Muslims do this, they condemn certain people. I'm not into any of that, you know. Like, I'm into the spirituality of it, where you know between good and evil, and it doesn't need you don't need a Bible to tell you in your heart what's good or evil. It helps, but you don't need that, and that's what we need as a society, to get back to the fact that being good is good for us instead of being bad is good for us. It's very simple.
I know you only had 30 minutes. I wanted to pick your brain on this. So you're talking about the government, aliens. What is the official InfoWars stance?
I don't know what the official InfoWars stance is.
It seems like Alex is going the other way on it now.
See, here's what I believe firmly about aliens. If you look in the Bible, there's biblical proof of aliens all over it. And you and I are trapped in animal bodies. We're the male of the species, so we have certain desires. We get hungry, we get tired, we have to go to the bathroom, we get hot, we get cold, right? So all of that affects our spirituality if we let it. And so humanity is basically retarded spiritually. We're retarded by the filter that we're getting everything is through our animal body. So it's tainted basically.
Stoned ape theory. You know, the idea that we're still like a monkey brain almost. And
Greg Reese did a great thing on that, on your ancient brain core. Oh, it's the space of it's the animal brain that we all have. We all have an animal brain, and then we have a bigger brain grew on top of it. And
from eating mushrooms, which is
I don't know where I'm going with this, bro.
I mean it is interesting. Our brain did double in size, and we have no idea why. Science doesn't know why. You know, I mean, it could have been eating you have no idea.
No idea.
But dude, thanks for coming on. Thanks for helping us test out the stream.
Yeah, anytime, dude. For sure.
And we gotta do something in the future. So on the 12th, you know, what could people expect? Like, get your tickets. So the tickets are available on the Vulcan site, which is in the
So go to AmericanLibertyAwards.com, and you can go to there's a ticket link to the Vulcan ticket site. We're about 3/4 of the way sold, so there's still tickets left. And
who's confirmed right now before I forget? So man. Alex.
Well, Alex is not confirmed, but Owen Schroyer, Harrison Smith, Dr. Peter McCullough, Badass Uncle Sam, Alex Stringer, Alex Rosen, Stu Peters, Deanna Lorraine, Christy Lee's going to be there. A bunch of memers that like
Cool.
I can't even like. They have kind of unique names, so
that's awesome.
Yeah, there's going to be right now. I think it's at 63 nominees are actually committed to coming. So awesome. 63 people on that list are going to be there. I'm blown away by the response. It's going to be like, I don't know. I'm trying not to have any expectations, because when you have expectations, then you're setting yourself up for failure. So I'm just happy that it's going to happen, you know?
Yeah. And the Vulcan's a great place. Like, they do a really good job with seating. Like, they're on their stuff. Their security is very tight. I mean, they had Rogan operating out of there for what, like a year, 2 years, something like that.
Yeah.
They know they know what they're doing. I love that theater, or I love that club. I guess it's a club.
Yeah.
But awesome, dude. Yeah, man. Thanks for coming on, and everyone, thanks for checking it out. We'll have some more streams coming up next week. We're gonna continue to test this thing out. Thanks everyone for joining.